Briefly, I started in the path to maritime by going to the United States Merchant Marine Academy, graduating in 1976. And from there, I sailed for 14 years total. And I stumbled onto the SL7 when I went to the day I got my first assistant engineer license. I went into the hall, MEBA hall, and there was a job open on the Sealand McLean, and I put in my card for that, and everybody jumped on it. And I said, "Oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't even try." But everybody pulled their cards back for some reason, and I found out why later. It's because they all knew that what I didn't know, that all eight were subject to a sale to the Navy at the time, and they figured that it would be, all of them would be shortly laid up. And in any case, happily, that the McLean and the Galloway were on option, and I got to stay on board and went first engineer on her, and we sailed a couple more years, and the rest is history for that. I had a deep connection with that vessel ever since. After sailing 14 years, I came ashore as a port engineer, and that was in the capacity of overseeing repairs and shipyard overhauls and such. And in post-retirement, similarly, I transitioned from commercial to the doing work with contract operators, like out of Bayonne Shipyard, dry docking MSC vessels, mostly roll-on, roll-off, similar to the SL7. So that brings me up to today.
From where you sit, can you just give me your insights on the U.S. maritime industry today and where?
Sure. I mean, on the commerce and logistics side, the need is deep, and we all know that. But on the marine industry side, we're very vulnerable uh, due to the lack of our own shipyard capacity, and maritime is companies have departed. They've gone bankrupt or went to overseas. For our national security, we really need to turn that around, and we can if we do a few things that I think our project can help put forward. I don't know how else to put it more succinctly. We need help, and we want to provide that.
Let's talk a little bit more specifically about the SL7 Expo, and specifically what is it? And I know you have personal experience with the ship, but why was the SL7 container ship chosen as the floating platform for this initiative?
Sure, that's a fair question, because I mean the history of the SL7, commercially, as a commercial container vessel. It was a steamship that it changed the industry at the time. And it was the fastest ship. It still holds speed records. I think it's 34 knots across the Pacific crossing, was still on the record books. But why is it chosen as to be a platform for the future? It's an adaptive reuse. The SL7 at the time, with its speed, I mean, we were using 7 barrels a mile at hooked up speed. And then the fuel crisis hit. And, we did a number of things to keep the ship running, like going on one boiler. And, we were able to do that. But the Sealand, the company that owned the vessels, pulled a rabbit out of the hat, quite frankly, and sold all eight of them on option to the Navy. And that was an adaptive reuse. That's why that platform actually, it wouldn't have existed if it had stayed as a um, container ship. It wouldn't be around today. 50 years later, the roll-on, roll-off configuration gives you an amazing space with the decks, with the accessibility that could be used even for any disabled people or anything. You can roll on, roll off. You can set up any kind of exhibit you want. So as an exhibit space, it's ideal.
Okay, no, that's spectacular. So I guess where are we today specifically? I guess in the quest to complete the SL7 Expo, specifically, do you have a ship and a location to house it?
We, to be quite frank, we don't. Yeah, as you know, we've been awaiting having a Marriott administrator. Now we do, Stephen Carmel. I'm so happy that we have that. But you know, they're in transition. They haven't made any decision as to our project. We submitted a unsolicited proposal, which we know will must be responded to, but so far it just hasn't due to that disarray, if you will, in their administration. I mean, they've got to put themselves back together, and it's quite a project on their side. The timing, uh, to be quite frank, the SL7s now are in line to be scrapped, and if things don't change, they'd all be scrapped, and we won't have a project. But we've put together a lot of historical data and things, and we can turn that over to another facility like the National Maritime Museum in Alabama. They would gladly accept anything we can give them.
If you look at this holistically, what are the projected funds needed to open it and sustain it?
Looking at it, like you say, holistically, we put together some estimates and we'd figure, 250 million total for projected for 10 years would get us there with, let's say, 15 million per year uh, to keep sustained. That's our best guess. But the return is what we're offering, and that's we hope we can sell it that way.
In your
Sure.
mind, the vision for this project, when it's completed, how do you envision this floating platform of Maritime's past to help inspire Maritime's future? You know, specifically, how do you envision it'll look, walk, and talk?
Sure. And a part of that is to give opportunities to the other maritime schools and unions and partner with them to keep that innovation alive. I know I have several friends in at the Merchant Marine Academy and also at Port Schuyler. They would eagerly put together exhibits, and we know that if you make things innovative and fun, people will come. And if we can build it, people will come.